I recently had a fascinating conversation about The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell, one that brought in a whole new perspective that, honestly, I couldn't wait to share with all of you. Now, I admit it has been years since I really did anything with The Hero's Journey or even looked at it, but I admit it is one of those concepts that has really stuck with me. Just in case you haven't heard about it or you need a refresher because it's been a while, the hero's journey is a journey of struggle and triumph and transformation that we all go through. One where the hero overcomes incredible obstacles to become this amazing and inspirational person. It is a beautifully simplistic, romantic story and one that we can all relate to, especially because we are on this entrepreneurial journey together. But here's where I want to flip the script and bring in that new perspective that I mentioned just a moment ago. To quote the author Rachel Burr from her book Butterfly Goo, The Down and Dirty Truth of Transformation. Seriously, Mr. Campbell? While I appreciate the tidy clarity of Mr. Campbell's model, I challenge its simplicity. I mean, come on. Simplicity is unrealistic. All right, that's the end of that quote, but I have to agree with Rachel. Simplicity is unrealistic when building a life and business of our dreams, and yet it is still a path that we all follow. Welcome to the Solo Grind, your weekly coffee chat with me, Teresa Schloop, the original caffeine creative. And today we are taking an up close and personal look at what it takes to do this business thing solo. We are stripping away the romantic glow of the entrepreneurial journey and looking at two approaches that help us answer the ultimate question: can I really get paid to do this? Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to have you here with me today and really excited to be on this entrepreneurial journey with you. This journey isn't an easy one, and it rarely follows that fairy tale path, despite how hard we wish that it would. There are no magical birds showing us the way, a yellow brick road laid out before us, and no wise mentor nodding approval in the corner as we find our way to greatness. It's simply not that simple, and it's often really messy. Most of the time, we are by ourselves, stumbling along, questioning everything, making things up as we go along. There are days where we are flying high and jumping for joy, and other days that bring us to tears and have us questioning our very existence. Some of these days are one right after the other, or maybe all of that is crammed into the same 24 hours. The journey of being an entrepreneur will challenge us in ways that we cannot even imagine when we get started, and yet it's still a journey so many of us take. Why? Because we want to believe in the fairy tale. We want to believe in dreams coming true and living happily ever after. We want that simplistic route outlined by Mr. Campbell all those years ago, and we're really good at convincing ourselves that things will be different for us. And it really doesn't matter if you are just starting out or have been in business for years. This journey applies to all of us over and over and over again because there is no one magical moment when all of our dreams come true and life is nothing but the fairy tale moving forward. There are always new ideas that turn into dreams, dreams that are worth exploring and pursuing, a pursuit that inevitably leads to struggle, doubt, fear, along with hopefully triumph and success. So every time that we come to the end of some version of our own hero's journey, we start on a new one. That is life, my friends, and it's part of what makes this life that we are living so very interesting, even when it gets messy. This is what we're going to be talking about this month, and I'm pretty excited to have you all here with me on this journey. To those of you who are new around here, I'm Teresa Schloop, a brand strategist and web designer who specializes in working with solo small business owners and bringing their incredible visions to life online. This is something you are looking for, please reach out through my website at caffeinecreative.io and book a free coffee chat with me. I would love to connect and learn more about you and your fabulous business. And thank you so much for joining me here today. I am really glad that you are here. My voice is a little bit weak. I've been dealing with some allergy issues, but I'm going to do my best to keep it strong and get through this episode because I am pretty excited about our conversation today. And if you've been here with me before, welcome back. I'm excited to reconnect with you, and I love our time together. Now, let's talk about those ideas that we turn into dreams. And then, of course, that ultimate question that so many of us ask in the very beginning of this journey: can I really get paid to do this? Even if we are exploring a legitimate business that many others do successfully, we still question if we can get paid doing it. And this is all part of the journey. Now, I do want to share a little side note here. This journey that you are on is all about you. A lot of people are going to have ideas about how you should be doing this. If you take action, some people are going to call you impulsive and doomed to failure. If you don't act or don't act quickly, they're going to say you're scared. People are going to question your timing, saying that you're moving too fast or you're moving too slow. And everyone is going to have an opinion about what your journey should really look like. Remember this, my friends. The path ahead is entirely up to you. Don't let anyone else tell you how this should look. Only you know what is really right for you. And here's something that we don't realize. All journeys, they begin with one thing. The beginning looks pretty much the same for all of us. We have an idea that begins to grow into a dream. This idea is centered around something that we love doing, something that is intriguing or fascinating and all consuming, maybe. Something that challenges us in the best possible way. And really, what entrepreneur doesn't love a really good challenge? Sometimes we don't realize we are already on the journey to building something new when we are in this early stage of an idea. I certainly didn't with this business. I started my web design business officially because it was something I could do. I never dreamed of becoming a web designer. In fact, I had vowed to leave the world of technology behind me when I left the corporate world to become a life coach. But as I began doing the work, initially for my own business, I discovered that I loved learning all the ins and outs of web design. I love discovering how simple things could have a really big impact when designed in a specific way, and how the power of words could be enhanced by the placement of them on the page. I loved learning. I loved trying things out. I loved rethinking what other people do or did to see how I would do things differently. This part of the process was so much fun for me that my simple idea of, I'll just build my own website, began to grow into something much bigger, eventually becoming a dream to fill the small business world with gorgeous websites. If you think back, or maybe if you're still in the beginning stages of your business, you don't no doubt have a similar story to tell. You had an idea that really grew and took hold. Sure, the front facing aspect of your story is going to be different. You could be focused on biophilic interior design, or maybe you're launching a catering business. But beneath it all, we are here in the same way. We have an idea so good, we just have to see where it takes us. And I can always tell when an idea is worth exploring for me because it becomes literally all consuming for me. Maybe you see this too. I would love to hear if you do. And this is kind of what that looks like. Rather than scrolling through Instagram or checking out the latest must haves trending in the TikTok shop, you may find yourself looking into some aspect of the dream that you're building, researching, exploring ideas, taking a look at how you could make this happen or how you would make this happen, even tuning in and paying close attention to how others in that industry are making it all work. You become engrossed in this new idea, and it is taking up a lot of space in your brain. You may even whisper your idea to a trusted friend to see what they think of your idea, or maybe you're like me and you keep it quiet, only sharing it with the pages of your journal. Either way, you begin to wonder, can I actually get paid to do this? Some of us like to share that we took the leap and dove right in headfirst. And while I agree, there is a lot of us who move pretty quickly through this stage, self included. We all actually start out with baby steps and test the waters. For me, it was taking on small little projects just to see if this was something I could actually do and wanted to do. My first test project was for my bestie, Crystal. Back then, she was launching her career as a professional organizer. And that project, honestly, to build her website went pretty well. And Crystal was over the moon excited with what I had built. So she told her friend Betty, who then paid me to build her a website. These little projects we take on in the beginning are so incredibly exciting. We're actually applying the knowledge that we have been gathering and bringing something new and cool to life. Plus, bonus here, we are getting paid. This is when we begin to realize we can actually get paid, and we begin envisioning ourselves on that romantic path of the entrepreneurial journey. We imagine taking on bigger projects and higher paying clients. We are fully aware that we are going to stumble and struggle a bit because, let's face it, all heroes struggle and stumble at times. But we have researched things thoroughly, at least we think we did, and we are prepared for anything that comes our way. We imagine and see our success skyrocketing and begin to imagine the fame that we are going to achieve, like seeing our work featured in a national magazine, or like my dream, being invited to be a speaker at a major conference. Actually, when I was on this journey as a life coach, my dream was to be on the Oprah show or one of her Super Soul Sunday episodes. This is the fairy tale of the hero's journey, and we all have some version of it in our minds. This fairy tale creates the illusion that our struggles are predictable. What we don't see behind the curtain of this illusion is that often the biggest struggle we face is making a decision about which path we are going to take. And as we are on the entrepreneurial version of this hero's journey, we have to decide pretty early on, do we plan, learn, and dream longer, or take the leap and dive right in? We have to decide that before we can move forward. And honestly, both of these paths are pretty well traveled. So Robert Frost's famous advice is not going to help us here. What most of us do is we sit in indecision rather than moving forward, when it really doesn't matter which path we take. Now, in the romantic version of that entrepreneurial journey, there's only one clear path to take. You take the leap. Clearly, only the bold who dive right in are destined to succeed, whereas the timid who focus on learning more and planning longer are destined to be stuck in the learning and planning forever, never truly seeing their dreams come true. Now, I want to pause here for just a moment to share what I mean by the romantic journey. Most people think of love stories when they hear the word romantic, but there's actually an alternate meaning that fits perfectly here. In the online version of the Oxford Dictionary, this alternate definition is this: to be characterized by or suggestive of an idealized view of reality. Similar words to this or phrases include idyllic, picturesque, fairy tale, idealistic, idolized, starry-eyed optimism. This is the romance that I am referring to, and it fits perfectly with this journey because this is how we envision our road to success unfolding. A picturesque fairy tale fueled by starry-eyed optimism. Now, both paths actually can lead to the same place, and that's something that I don't think we talk about often enough. We make this simplistic approach or statement stating you have to take the leap and be bold, but that isn't necessarily true. As I said, both paths can lead to the same place. On the first path, we have the opportunity to be more thoughtful and can move forward a bit more cautiously. We may have may have had some initial success, but we don't want to be too hasty. So we consider learning a bit more, doing a little more planning, taking an up close personal look at timing so that we're not overwhelmed. On this path, we're being thoughtful and intentional about how we move forward. On the second path, we take the leap, or as my old mentor used to say, we go for stupid. Okay, Not really stupid, although the naysayers probably think you're being stupid, but we don't care what they think. What we're really doing on this path is ignoring what everyone else thinks and going for a big, ridiculous goal. While we are being thoughtful and intentional here as well, we are taking quicker, more bold actions first and choosing to learn along the way rather than doing that learning, planning, prep beforehand. Regardless of which path you take, you can find success. You can also find disaster, and you are likely to find a healthy dose of both on your road to success. Coming to this fork in the road isn't the obstacle that keeps us stuck. It is choosing the path that is right for us that is the real struggle. Oh, and as if this isn't confusing enough for all of us, guess what? Sometimes the planning and learning and dreaming longer route path is the right one for you, even if you're a little bit more impulsive like me. Other times, diving right in is the perfect path for you, even if you're a little bit more intentional and slow and deliberative. It doesn't matter which path you take. You just have to choose the one that is right for you right now. So let's take a look at each one of those paths so that you can get an idea of what they look like and hopefully gain a little bit of clarity on which one is going to be the right path for you right now in whatever it is that you're pursuing. So the first one is the path of learning, planning, and dreaming longer. Now, we've already touched on this, but I think it's worth saying again. There are a lot of people in the entrepreneurial world who are kind of jerks about this path. They call it the safe path that leads to nowhere. They even shame those who want to take this path, telling them that they are giving up on their dreams. I hate to admit it, but I've had that thought myself in the past, thinking that the only way to succeed was to dive right in and charge through. That's not always the case. So I want to take a moment here to reframe what this path really is. And yes, there can definitely be a side of this path that leads to nowhere. But again, it can be a really good, thoughtful path. So like I said, I want to reframe this. This is not the safe path. Safety is an illusion after all. Let's be real. This path is based on exploration and strategy. It is the pause that we spoke about in last week's episode, Things Our Tired Brains Do That Sabotage Success. It's not a procrastination. It's not fear. Procrastination comes with a healthy dose of avoidance. And that isn't what we're doing on this path. Again, we are exploring possibilities. This is the let me think this through path, and here's what it may look like for you. You've been doing a lot of research and learned quite a bit, but you still have more questions than confidence. So you look for new opportunities to expand your knowledge. You begin testing out different approaches to see how each one works. You refine, test again, and probably refine it some more and test again. As you test and explore, you are building additional skills behind the scenes, skills you may not have even known that you needed, but you are grateful that you're learning. You look closely at the process and determine what is going to work the best to reach the desired outcome for you and your future clients. Basically, you are bringing your A game. And financial responsibility is a must. You don't just want to start throwing money at your idea or take out a hefty loan. You want to make strategic decisions so profitability comes much more quickly. As I said a moment ago, many people watching what you are doing are going to think you are playing it safe and staying stuck in the dreaming stage. But what they don't see is that there's a lot going on behind the scenes. There's a lot of success to be found along this path. Those successes that you can find on this path are going to be gaining additional knowledge and testing things out before building a deeper sense of confidence that's rooted in competence and experience. Your processes and systems are going to be much stronger from the beginning. And while you're going to tweak those as time goes on, because let's face it, processes and systems are always being tweaked and improved upon, there will be a lot less trial by fire for you. This is also going to minimize stress and help you avoid mistakes a little bit more easily by taking this thoughtful, strategic approach. Plus, you're going to be more established in the beginning, And that is going to help you attract higher quality clients more quickly and lead ultimately to better financial stability. Now, let's take a look at where this path can turn on you. Okay. That's the potential disasters that I was talking about because, as I said before, each path can lead to success or it can lead to disaster. While, again, this isn't the safe path, it can quickly become the comfortable path and definitely keep you stuck rather than moving forward with your dreams. And here are some ways that this shows up. You find yourself in analysis paralysis, looking at every choice you need to make from every possible angle without making any real decisions. A lot of the choices that we get stuck on as entrepreneurs honestly do not matter as much as we think. One of the best examples that I can share of this is the struggle to choose branding colors. I have watched people spend far too long struggling with which color of black, which shade of red, which shade of whatever to look at, when at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. Yes, branding colors create a feeling, but they're not as important as we think they are. Okay. So that's analysis, a good example of analysis paralysis. We also fear that we're not good enough yet and can easily get caught up in that eternal student syndrome, always looking for the next class that will make it all click so that we finally can get started. This one I see quite often as well. Not so much with my interior designers. They love to do more than learn, I think, but I've seen this with the people in more of the service industries such as holistic providers, massage therapists, things like that. They want to keep learning before they really step into their role as the person they want to become. And they get stuck in the learning and give away their services for a long time when it's not necessary. And when they finally do decide that they've learned enough, if that day ever comes, rather than stepping out and showing the world what we can do, I see people from all industries hiding behind their education, their training, and credentials, essentially hiding the real version of themselves behind some letters that they can add to the end of their name. And honestly, that doesn't help you either. I also will catch people over preparing for everything as a response to the fears building up inside. And then finally, we just simply keep waiting for permission to actually begin, waiting for that magical moment when everything clicks and it's time to begin. Essentially, we are mistaking the comfort of learning and planning with clarity, thinking that we're working towards our goals when we are simply spinning our wheels and digging a deeper hole for ourselves. So, are you exploring or are you simply stuck? Let's find out. I have a few questions I want you to answer to help you decide if you are in the stage of strategic exploration or hiding away in fear of following your dreams. And I also will have these in my detailed show notes on my website. And I encourage you to spend a little time, like journal about these. Spend some time really thinking about them and be honest with yourself. There's no wrong answer to these questions. This is simply for awareness. So honesty is the key in utilizing these as a tool. All right, the first question here is, are you learning because you were curious or because you are afraid? Now, here are some common thoughts if you were in that exploration stage. Wow, that is cool. I want to know more. Or, I didn't know I could do it that way. How does this work? Another example is, I love how, fill in the blank of somebody's name that you've been paying attention to. I love how they did this. How can I achieve something similar? Or, I need to understand this well before I can sell it. That's a good one. And sometimes that one can be a cop out, but honestly, it's a really good one. You want to be able to sell things really well. And the only way to sell them well is to truly understand them and have a passion for them. And finally, I want to make sure I can deliver really well on what I'm offering. Now, common thoughts if you are stuck in fear could be simply, I am not good enough yet. I don't have any formal training. So, fill in the blank. I am not as good as, pick a name of somebody you admire, or I'll just take one more course so that I feel more ready. And my favorite of all of these is let me tweak my logo and website one more time before I launch. That is a sure sign of being stuck, my friends, when you were chronically tweaking your website logo brand colors. All right, the next question. If no one was around to judge you, would you launch right now? Now, if you're in exploration mode, common thoughts include I'm not quite ready to launch, but I'm really close. I'd like to try a soft launch to test my process. I am going to set up a peer group for honest feedback so when I launch, I am doing it really well. Or I'm creating a strategic timeline for my launch. Okay. These are all legitimate thoughts when you're in that exploration mode because let's face it, we want things to go smoothly. However, if you're in that stuck mode, stuck in fear, you're going to think thoughts like, what if my husband, my mom, my sister, my best friend, fill in the blank, thinks this is ridiculous? Okay. I'm not sure my family will take me seriously yet, so I better wait to launch. I can't put this out there until it's perfect. Perfect is an illusion, my friends. Trust me on that. And I'll wait until life feels less chaotic. I hope you can see the difference here. So, for example, that I can't wait or put it out there until it's perfect, that is a cop out. But doing a soft launch or testing with a peer group, that's strategy. So, I hope you can see the difference in the two sides. Again, all of this is in my show notes so that you can sit with this if you want to for a little bit. All right. The last question that I want you to consider is there a measurable milestone that tells me that I am ready? Now, if you're in the exploration stage or process, common thoughts are going to be when I complete this certification, I will launch. That is not a keep adding certifications to the end, but like actually having an end in sight. This certification is necessary for this reason, and that's when I'm going to launch. Or when I finish building this offer, I will be able to start selling it. You want to fine tune your offers before you put them out there for the world because that's how you're going to put them out there confidently. So, what about common thoughts if you're in stuck mode, if you're in that stuck in fear aspect? They could be I just will know when I feel ready. That honestly, like I get it. Yeah, we got to trust our intuition. We got to trust our instincts. But again, that's one of those cop out things that we'll just say, well, I will know. I will know. It's a cop out often. You'll know the difference. You know which one feels right. Or I need to feel 100% certain before I move forward. Do you? This is all about the journey, trying things, seeing how it works, fine tuning, tweaking, all of those things. Certainty comes with doing, not with sitting around thinking about things all day long. All right. Now, the path to learning and planning and dreaming a little bit longer, this is a really powerful path when it is done intentionally. The key thing I want you to remember, if you feel this is the path for you, is that learning and planning actually can really help you build momentum. They can fuel your passion and inspire you to take the bold actions when it is time. So, if taking things slow and being a little bit more deliberative feels right to you, then do it and don't let anybody tell you that you're on the right path. All right. Now, I want to talk about the bold path of taking the big leap. There are a lot of us in the entrepreneurial world who declare that this is the only real path to take if you want your dreams to come true. I used to be one of those jerks. I apologize for that. There are others who don't have an entrepreneurial bone in their body who will see this path as reckless. So, again, let's start off by reframing this path along the way. First, it's not reckless. Some people are more prone to being decisive and taking quick action. I am one of those people. When I am exploring the idea of doing something new, I explore the options very quickly. I learn what I need to know to get started, and then I dive in and see what happens. I find incredible clarity by doing things, having my hands in the process, and testing things out in real time. And while I know I won't always make the right decisions, I trust myself to make a decision and then make it right when things go wrong. As my husband would tell you, I am more of a hold my beer and watch this kind of girl. He, on the other hand, is much more deliberative in this approach, which is why we are such a good fit. He looks at all the angles and weighs things out in his mind, allowing ideas a lot of time to marinate before taking action. Now, we both make good decisions for the most part, and we both get to the same place in the end. We just take two very different paths. This bold dive in, take the leap is the build as you go path. And here's what that looks like. Those of us on this path love learning, but we know that we learn best by doing. We typically don't fear making mistakes. We know that each mistake brings with it new knowledge and clarity. We see hands-on experience just as important, if not more important, than certifications and formal training. We are willing to give it a go before we feel completely ready because we know this is often the fastest way to achieve our goal and to be ready. And we don't mind stumbling a bit. We love checklists and quickly check off the list of things to do, like setting up our website, building our social media, announcing we are in business. The sooner these things are done and checked off the list, the sooner we can focus on building our business and making money. While we do care what other people think, we aren't too concerned with public opinion in general, and we don't mind figuring things out while others are watching. Our confidence grows through action, not preparation. The more we do, the more we learn. The more we learn, the better we are. This formula works for us. Now, there's a great deal of success to be found on this path as well. Those of us on this path tend to develop new skills quickly and focus on mastering them by doing them over and over again. We have a strong resilience and can handle what others perceive as failures a little bit better than most. In fact, we rarely see failure as failure. It's just a lesson learned. Those who dive in tend to start making money more quickly because we are willing to take on paying clients before we have everything figured out. We're just honest about our skills and that we're testing and learning. We learn to trust our instincts as we have to solve problems more than most, and we have to act quickly to make things right when things go wrong. And we are better able to tolerate discomfort and push through the tough times without wanting to give up. Finally, we gain clarity on what works and what doesn't work a lot more quickly because of our trial by fire approach. So, just like with the last path, though, there are potential disasters that we need to be aware of. And where this path can quietly turn on you will look a little bit like this. On the build as you go path, it is all too easy to confuse urgency with what actually matters. And we can spend a lot of time on things that don't move the needle forward just because they feel urgent. We struggle a bit keeping up with everything as we didn't have any solid systems in place before we got started. And we can easily mask our impulsiveness as courage and keep pushing forward even when it isn't the best course of action for us. We are more prone to saying yes to every opportunity and can easily get swept up in the hustle culture, making burnout a very real concern for us. And finally, we tend to make mistakes that are much more visible, which can actually hurt our brand reputation and our confidence if we aren't careful. So, are you taking bold, decisive action or are you acting impulsively? Let's find out. Once again, I have some questions that I want you to explore, and they are in the show notes as well. So, the first question: are you launching because you trust yourself or because you are trying to prove something? Now, this, my friends, is one that I have gotten stuck on many times. If somebody tells me I cannot do something, I love nothing better than to prove them wrong, even when I don't really care what they think. I like to prove them wrong. I know that I am taking bold action and in the right mindset when the need to prove them wrong isn't as important as the fact that I just simply want to build something. Other common thoughts when we're taking bold action includes, I don't know everything yet, but I know enough to start, or I don't need everyone to understand this decision. just believe in me. And finally, I am ready to adapt if I need to. If we're acting impulsively, we have that I'll show them mentality of proving them wrong, as I mentioned a moment ago. Other thoughts could be, well, I don't have things quite figured out yet, but if I get a paying customer, that will motivate me to get it done. Believe it or not, I've seen people do that, and that is a recipe for disaster, my friends. Have something figured out before you bring somebody into the fold. You may have this thought that you can't stand the idea that you were hesitating, that you weren't taking bold action. So you're going to dive right in. Or you have this desire to work this out immediately, even though you're not entirely sure why. Okay. The next question that I want you to explore is, if this doesn't succeed right away, will you adjust or collapse? Now, if you are in the mindset of taking bold action, common thoughts include, if this doesn't work, I'll redesign it. Or failure is just an opportunity to learn and improve. And also, I'm playing the long game and I believe in myself. So when things go wrong, we easily adjust and adapt. However, if you were acting impulsively, you were going to have thoughts like, if this doesn't take off fast, maybe I'm just not cut out for this, or I've tied too much to this to let it fail, or if it stalls, I'll probably just abandon it. Those are thoughts that are going to be clear indicators that you are not in the right mindset at this moment. And finally, the question, are you building momentum or creating chaos? If you're taking bold action, common thoughts are, things are moving quickly and I like the results. You make a point to make sure your yeses are very intentional yeses that are well thought out. And my growth feels challenging, but steady. These are all good, positive thoughts that we have when we're in the mindset of taking bold action. If we're acting impulsively, we're going to be thinking things like, I am busy all the time, but I have no idea what is working. I'll say yes and figure it out later. Bad sign, my friends. And I am juggling too much, but I just can't afford to stop. That is definitely a sign that you are acting more impulsively, and a sure sign that you need to pause, take a breath, slow down, and take a look at what you're really building so that you are focused on strategy. Now, this bold path of taking the leap can be a lot of fun. It can also be incredibly chaotic, exhausting, and drain your time, money, and energy really very quickly. The key to success on this path is taking moments to pause and reflect. You can do this quickly, but do it. Your future self is going to thank you. So, which path feels like the right one for you right now? And that is the key question. Right now, which path do you think you want to be on? Each time that you come to that fork in the road, you have an opportunity to choose the path that fits today. While I'm often, as I said early on, I am the one to dive right in. I've also been known to take the path of planning and learning. There really isn't one right way we all have to follow. And if you choose a path that once you go on it doesn't feel right, make a new choice and pivot, my friends. Because as I said earlier, it is having this choice on which path to take that creates the obstacle that really keeps us stuck. And it is our failure to make that choice and move forward that keeps us from finding our dreams. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of this week's episode of The Solo Grind. I am going to go drink a gallon of honey tea and give my voice a rest, but I do want to take just a moment to thank you for hanging out with me here today. I always look forward to connecting with you through this podcast, and I cannot wait to meet with you again next week. Have a wonderful week ahead, and if you have any thoughts, ideas, or inspirations that you've got from this episode, I would love to hear them. Shoot me an email at theperfectblend@caffeinecreative.io, and I promise I do respond to all of those emails personally, and I would love to hear from you. Have a great week, and I will see you all again next week. Thanks for tuning in to The Solo Grind, your weekly coffee break with your business bestie by your side. I would love it if you would take a moment to rate, review, subscribe, or share this podcast with a friend. Your support helps others discover this podcast, and that really does make a difference, one that I truly appreciate.